I watch a lot of stuff every year. Some might say I watch too much stuff. I think I don't watch enough. But because of the sheer volume of media I consume, I don't get to talk about all of it, which is sad. There's a ton of stuff that I would love to talk about on this channel, but either I don't have enough to say about it to warrant a whole video, or it's winter, so I'm in one of my multi-month-long hiatuses where even the sun doesn't reach me. But it's a nice day today, so I decided to crawl out of my cave to talk to you about some of the movies that I wouldn't have covered otherwise. Specifically, I want to talk about 5 underrated movies that I think everyone should watch immediately. It's frustrating when I come across a movie that blows me away, and then I find that not as many people know about it as it deserves. So allow me to try to rectify that in some small way. Okay, enough waffling. Let's get into it. Shiva Baby is a 2020 film following Danielle, a student in her final year of college who works as a sugar baby to make extra money on the side. When Danielle attends a Jewish funeral service called Shiva, she is forced to spend an awkward, not to mention anxiety-inducing day with her family, their friends, and her successful ex-girlfriend, all of whom seem to be doing everything in their power, whether intentionally or not, to make Danielle as uncomfortable as possible. But if all that wasn't bad enough, who should show up at the Shiva than Max, Danielle's sugar daddy, who turns out to be a friend of her father's. That should be enough of a description to send you running to Netflix to watch this movie right now. But if you need more convincing, allow me to continue. Shiva Baby is the coming-of-age story for people in their 20s, which is a demographic that doesn't have a lot of coming-of-age stories geared towards them. And that's a shame, because there is so much about this time of life that is left unexplored. Being a person in your 20s is so goddamn scary and tiring all the time, and Shiva Baby encapsulates this perfectly. If you've ever gone to a large community gathering as a person in their 20s, then I can almost guarantee you that you will feel seen by this movie in some way. So much of it focuses on the stressors pushed onto people this age. Danielle has multiple forced conversations about school, and if she's seeing anyone, and about what she plans to do after school. And with every new one she has, a little bit of her already thin composure is stripped away. It's so awkward and uncomfortable. Rachel Sennett perfectly captures the picture of a girl falling apart over the course of one afternoon, as every worry and anxiety she's held inside her is pushed to the limit and brought to the surface. And as if all of that couldn't be terrible enough, there's the added layer of Danielle's sugar daddy being at the same gathering with his wife and infant child. So she not only has to maneuver her nosy family friends and their interest in questions she doesn't have the answer to, but she's also 2 steps away from her family finding out about her sex work, and even less steps away from wrecking a marriage. This movie is a hilarious, chaotic, anxious nightmare. There is not a moment to breathe between the actions happening. They just keep piling on and escalating, and you have no idea if Danielle will get out of here alive or if it's all gonna burst. There are sections of Shiva Baby that straight up feel like a horror movie from how they're shot and edited. It's so claustrophobic at times, it is genuinely terrifying in a painfully realistic way. So many bad decisions made, so many lies told, so many passive-aggressive conversations that are always on the verge of collapsing in on themselves and revealing the ugly, messy truths the characters are desperately trying to hide. These characters are fighting for their lives the entire runtime. It is so stressful and awkward, and I know I keep bringing that up, but I do so because it's what makes so much of the movie. The chaotic, nail-biting tone is enough to give you heart palpitations, and if you get secondhand embarrassment easily as I do, good luck. But underneath all of the chaos and anxiety that's enough to rival both Uncut Gems and Whiplash, and I mean that completely seriously, there is a very real and personal story about uncertainty, lack of control, fear of the future, and growth. It's a heartfelt love letter to every person who has ever felt like Danielle, a little reminder that even when life makes you want to throw up, you'll get through it. And though it may not end up perfect, it'll end up just fine. And for a lot of us, that's all we need. It's also a movie that gives you permission to throw up because of life if you need to, and honestly, that's really heartening. So yeah, Shiva Baby. It's a wonderful, painful mess, and more people need to see it. Also, the director Emma Seligman's next film is called Bottoms, which also stars Rachel Sennett along with Ayo Edebiri. They play 2 unpopular girls in high school who start a fight club so they can sleep with the hot cheerleaders. It sounds like a queer camp masterpiece, and I cannot wait. Sunshine Sunshine is a 2007 sci-fi film following the crew of the Icarus II, 8 international astronauts with the mission of using a stellar bomb to jumpstart the dying sun, thus saving humanity. Aboard the ship are physicist Robert Capa, engineer James Mace, pilot Cassie, biologist Corazon, doctor and psychologist Searle, communications officer and second-in-command Harvey, the navigator Trey, and the ship's captain Kaneda. As the ship's physicist, Kappa, played by Cillian Murphy with a little ponytail, has the responsibility of operating the stellar bomb, and as a result remains a bit of an outsider on the ship as he is the only member of the crew to understand the gravity of the bomb itself to its fullest extent. When the story begins, the Icarus II has reached a proximity to the sun that prevents any further signals from reaching Earth. This is actually a good sign, as it means the crew is on par to reaching their goal. However, as the Icarus II passes Mercury, it picks up a signal from the Icarus I, the ship sent on the first attempt of this mission, which disappeared 7 years ago. Sunshine has this cold and isolating atmosphere, probably due to most of the story hinging around Kappa and his silent, aged beyond his time demeanor. And strangely, what adds to that is the presence of the sun. I haven't really seen many other space movies deal with the sun, which is wild to me since the sun is terrifying. It's so powerful that it can kill you at the proximity the characters are to it, yet so necessary that the fate of humanity hinges on it. Focusing this story around restarting the sun is a pretty unique concept, and it's the exact kind of ingenuity that I love to see in a genre that's as saturated as space adventures. On top of that, Sunshine has some incredible visuals. This movie looks beautiful. The depictions of the sun are stunning and haunting, and there are some shots in this that are just too good. I feel like this would have been such a treat to see in theaters, especially with the sound. Tragic that I was only 4 when it came out and will never get to experience it on that level. Sunshine isn't your typical flashy space adventure story. It's more of a quieter, slower thriller, tending to focus more on the little moments. While there are some great sequences of high-octane danger and crew members do drop left and right, Sunshine is able to pack as much tension and horror in the tiny moments between those, making them just as effective, if not more so. In fact, Sunshine is straight up scary, like hair-raisingly, skin-crawlingly scary. There are sequences in this movie that are so creepy and unsettling, I was like, nope, no thank you. Excuse me? What the hell was that? There's a scene that marks the beginning of the third act that is so chilling, it honestly might be one of my favorite moments from any movie. With just 2 or 3 words, the movie delivers sheer horror. In fact, I rewatched that scene as I was writing the script, and even though I knew what was going to happen, I still got this deep feeling of dread in my chest. It's just so good. Since I'm talking about the third act, I do have to say here that the third act is weird. It completely diverges from the slow, methodical suspense the rest of the movie set up, and veers into slasher territory. I don't think I'm spoiling anything by saying that, but I won't get any more specific. It's definitely a strange decision. There are multiple theories as to why this was included, and more importantly, what actually happened during this act. There's a straightforward, this is what the movie tells us happened version of events, and a deeper, more psychological interpretation that some people have put out. I don't really know which one I believe. While I think the deeper interpretation might make it slightly better, I don't love it, since I think it takes away from the gravity of the scene I spoke about before, and I just really love that scene, so I'm hesitant to accept anything that might undermine it. I will admit that there could be signs sprinkled throughout the rest of the movie that the deeper interpretation could hold water, but I don't think the supposed breadcrumbs are enough to make a first-time viewer jump to that deeper conclusion, which leads me to believe that maybe in this case what the movie explicitly says happened. I don't know. Either way, I'm not in love with this third act, but it's not bad enough to retroactively ruin the rest of the movie. I still think you could get a hell of a lot out of Sunshine, and I still highly recommend it despite its somewhat misguided ending. So give it a watch. It's on Disney+, it's got some great suspense, beautiful visuals, interesting themes, and Cillian Murphy's little ponytail. Monsieur Lazhar is a 2011 Quebecois film taking place at an elementary school in Montreal, where a school teacher has just ended her own life. Her class is taken on by Bachir Lazhar, an Algerian immigrant who finds himself not only having to fill the position of a teacher for these kids, but also having to take on the complex emotional scar left on them by their teacher's death. Initially, Bachir has trouble adjusting to life in Montreal. Culture shock, the different schooling systems, and the attitudes of the children are all alien to him. But as time passes, he's able to form a bond with his students, who end up revering him in the same way they did their late teacher. I think I first watched Monsieur Lazhar when I was around 13. My sister had to watch it for her high school French class, so I ended up watching it with her, and it has not left me since. This movie is a beautiful, heartfelt, and at times tragic look at the complexities of grief. The whole film is a quiet struggle between the adults who are obsessed with ignoring the incident and moving on from it as quickly as possible, and the children who wish to linger on it and talk about the collective pain they've experienced. There's a scene where a young Sophie Nélisse delivers a piece she wrote about how she views her school in the aftermath of their teacher's death that really says it all. The confusion, uncertainty, and pain felt by them is so evident in this one scene. It's powerful. Monsieur Lazhar highlights the often irrational actions taken by people experiencing grief. It gives the children a lot of credit. Though they're young and thus should be the ones lost in this scenario, they're not only the ones to understand it the most, but also the ones to understand the importance of addressing it, even if they relay that understanding in stunted, not always coherent ways. After all, they're still kids. Speaking of the kids, the child actors in this are phenomenal. They blow me away every time. As mentioned, Sophie Nélisse nails the sweet but struggling Alice, but I really wanted to highlight Emilio Nejon, who plays Simon, which is probably one of the most complex roles in the film. Simon is a troubled boy with a lot of anger, shame, and guilt built up inside him that is unraveled over the course of the film, culminating in a heartbreaking climax that never fails to hit me where it hurts. Neron does an incredible job conveying it all. As Bashir finds his footing at the school and in Montreal as a whole, we also start to learn more about who he is as a person and the pain he himself carries with him from his life in Algeria. The mirroring of the children's very public pain that no one wants to address, and Bashir's private pain that he is forced to address, for reasons, is a really powerful way to explore Monsieur Lazhar's complex themes. For Monsieur Lazhar isn't singularly about grief, but it's also about violence. Violence has touched these characters' lives in different ways, but its effect has been the same. It's left the characters confused, floundering, traumatized, with such a deep sense of loss that they have trouble letting go of. Monsieur Lazhar is a very small, very quiet story that manages to do so much. It's why I come back to this movie time and time again. Grief, violence, connection, loss, all of it is wrapped up in this emotional gut punch of a film. It's currently on Prime Video, and Crave, for my Canadians who are insane and actually have Crave like me. If you're wondering why I say that, stay tuned for my next video, which will feature an extended section of Crave slander. So go watch Monsieur Lazhar and make good use of those subtitles, because Quebecois French is amazing and wonderfully incomprehensible. His Girl Friday is a 1940 film following Walter Burns and Hildy Johnson, a divorced couple who used to work together at the newspaper The Morning Post. When the film begins, Hildy, who left The Morning Post after the divorce, returns to inform Walter of her recent engagement to a mild-mannered insurance man, Bruce Baldwin, and their future plans of moving to Albany with him, where she will settle down and become a housewife. In an attempt to sabotage this, Walter entices Hildy to write one last story for The Morning Post about the impending execution of one Earl Williams, a man who has recently been convicted of murder. I know it's not always easy to watch classic films. They are incredibly different in style to modern films, and there's also like a bajillion of them, so it can be hard to actively choose one to sit down and watch. Hell, I haven't seen nearly as many classic movies as I want to. It can be difficult to get into it, but I think if you're trying to, then His Girl Friday is a good place to start. This movie is such a treat. I watched it near the beginning of the year for a film class I'm taking, and I haven't been able to get it out of my head since. As a comedy, it's easily accessible, it's genuinely quite funny, and at a tight 92 minutes, it wastes no time. His Girl Friday is brilliantly written and performed. It's quite a simple story with only a handful of long scenes, which is indicative of its stage play origins. The dialogue is smart and witty. There is so much to be enjoyed just by listening to these characters interact with each other, and this is made even better by the fact that the characters themselves are not great people. Walter and Hildy have a somewhat combative relationship. You can tell right off the bat that there is a history here, and you can also tell why they got divorced. Walter and Hildy are not on the same side. All Hildy wants to do is leave New York and get married, and all Walter wants to do is stop that. They are never on the same page, except for when they're working on a story for the paper. As a result, His Girl Friday is able to get so much intelligent, clever banter and conflict out of such simple setups. The dialogue is also constant, and when I say constant, I mean constant. You will be hard-pressed to find a moment of silence in this movie, Every second of it is filled with dialogue and action, which not only adds to its absurd humor, but lends the movie an exhilarating breakneck speed. I said before that Shiva Baby has barely a moment to breathe, but that's even more true of His Girl Friday. This movie is so full that when a moment of silence does occur, you really feel it. I want to give you a small taste of what this movie is like. The audio is old, so if you want subtitles, go ahead and turn them on now.
Oh, listen, Walter. You are no longer my husband and no longer my boss. And you're not going to be my boss.
What's that supposed to mean?
Just what I say.
You mean you're not coming back to work on the paper?
You are right, Mr. Burns, for the first time today.
Got a better offer, huh?
You bet I've got a better
All
offer.
right, go on, take it, work for somebody else. That's the gratitude I get.
Oh, I wish you'd
What were
stop
you when you came
panning.
here 5 years ago? A little college girl from a school journalism. I took a doll-faced hick.
Well, you wouldn't take me if I hadn't been doll-faced.
Oh, why should I? I thought it'd be a novelty to have a face around here a man could look at without shuddering.
Listen, Walter,
Listen, I
please.
made a great reporter out of you, Hildy, but you won't be half as good on any other paper, and you know it. We're a team, that's what we are. You need me, and I need you, and the paper needs both of
Bold
us.
American!
That's what 99% of this movie is, and that sequence isn't even the most impressive of the film. I went for it because it's the least spoilery and there's not much context missing, but it gets the overall vibe across. I felt like I was winded just watching the actors. The level of breath control that they have is insane, and I can't even imagine how much rehearsal must have gone into this. Having said all that, I feel like I should warn you that His Girl Friday might not be for everyone because of the things I just mentioned. If you are easily annoyed, then you might find this movie insufferable. Seriously, believe me when I say that the characters do not shut up. Please know what you're getting into. You might end up having a blast, or you might end up with a headache. I said before that these characters are not the best people, and for good reason, at least narratively. His Girl Friday takes a humorous and borderline satirical approach to the theme of morality and ethics of the press, or rather, the lack thereof. The characters are anti-heroes in a sense. They're singularly focused on their goal, breaking a good story, and indifferent to the harm they cause to innocent people along the way. It's great. Also, His Girl Friday has a very specific type of romantic dynamic that I am always on my knees for, which I have affectionately termed petulant romance. It's romance between characters who are petulant, insolent, just overall not the best people. It makes for incredible banter, and every second they're on screen feels like they need to get a room ASAP. It's a very niche dynamic, but I love it. So, if you're looking for a fun, classic film, give His Girl Friday a watch. It's available for free on YouTube, so you have no excuse. Also, Cary Grant sexy, Rosalind Russell sexy, literally what more do you need? Om Shanti Om is a 2007 Bollywood film about Om Prakesh, a background actor with dreams of making it big who forms a bond with Shanti Priya, one of the most iconic actresses of her time. Om has been hopelessly in love with Shanti, but she's already married to an influential producer who doesn't seem to have much affection for her. It's these three characters crossing paths and clashing that brings a mysterious tragedy to set. Okay, so I'm kind of cheating by putting Om Shanti Om on this list, because this is not an underrated movie if you're South Asian. Quite the contrary, in fact. Om Shanti Om is one of the most famous and beloved Bollywood movies of, I'm willing to bet, all time. No, I am not exaggerating. It's one of Shah Rukh Khan's most loved roles, and it was Deepika Padukone's debut in Bollywood. That is insane. Can you imagine this being your debut Bollywood scene?
अब आ रही है the star of the evening, the dreamy girl herself, Shanti Priya.
There was no way that she wasn't going to be a star. This is one of the defining films of 2000s Bollywood. It will go down in the history books, and I am willing to put money on that. I mean, I'd put like $1 on it, okay? I can't be wasting money, not in this economy. But despite its prominent place in South Asian pop culture, I feel like Om Shanti Om remains relatively unknown outside of it, which is why I'm putting it on this list. It is my unofficial goal in life to get as many people to watch this movie as possible. I know the synopsis I gave you is rather vague, but I can't really get much more specific than that, because it'll give so much away. The only other thing I'll say is that it's technically a multi-generational love and revenge story, but not in the way that you're thinking. Om Shanti Om is a spectacle. The story is wild, the set pieces are incredible, and the music? Brilliant, revolutionary, divine, awe-inspiring, simply fantastic. I will say that I am definitely biased when I talk about this film, because I grew up on it. My family had an illegal version on a nondescript DVD, and we would pop it in at the drop of a hat. This is the era of Bollywood that I grew up on. It's nostalgic to me, and I think it's especially so nowadays given the direction Bollywood has gone in recent years. It's very pew-pew action now, which makes wholly original, heartfelt stories like Om Shanti Om so special. In a way, I think Om Shanti Om is to Bollywood what La La Land is to Hollywood. Om Shanti Om is as much a generational love and revenge story as it is a love letter to Indian cinema. The whole story surrounds the film industry. It pays tribute to Bollywood cinema with such care. There's a scene closer to the beginning of the movie where our characters attend a premiere for Shanti's newest movie, Dreamgirl. The scenes shown of her movie are actually from old classic Bollywood films that Deepika Padukone was edited into, which is really cool. And of course, probably the most iconic scene of the movie is the Diwangi Diwangi scene. Farah Khan really pulled out every contact she had on her phone for this, and they all showed up. This scene features cameos from so many iconic actors. They really just had a big party. The highlight for me is of course Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol. These two played love interests in a number of films in the 90s and 2000s, and they're just the best. Okay, this was our Leo and Kate. Actually, no, Leo and Kate wish they could be them. Anyway, this sequence is such a fun way to pay tribute to these amazing actors. If you're gonna watch this, a few things to keep in mind. Bollywood movies have a very distinct style. It's going to be over the top and dramatic. Expect a certain level of cheesiness, expect to be watching for at least 3 hours, and expect musical numbers that can be upwards of 9 minutes long and do nothing, zero, nada for the plot. Also, for this movie in particular, expect 40-something-year-old Shah Rukh Khan to be unbelievably ripped, wet, and sweaty. Happy belated International Women's Day for my ladies, and happy early Pride for my gays. If you're even the least bit interested, I implore you to watch this movie. It's available on Netflix, so knock yourself out. You'd be doing yourself a favor because it's awesome, and you'd be helping me fulfill my unofficial life goal. And there you have it, 5 underrated films that you need to watch right now. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I have a ton of other underrated films up my sleeve, so I'd love to do this again sometime in the future. For now, I hope you check out at least one of these movies. Or, just keep rewatching the same stuff you love over and over again like I do. I'm not judging, I get it. Until next time.